What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of 52 Books. This is our second review of Congo Sole. Goodness. Man, we hear stories about like the war of Rwanda. I never knew about the Congolese war. Over 60 million people died. And my man Emmanuel is a refugee of that. Like real life refugee. And this tells his story. Not only that he survived and thrived, but also he went back to help save and help out his community, man. And that is amazing. As an immigrant myself, it's everything to be able to go back to your country and give. It is everything. And it's just different. This book is amazing. So we left off, they escaped Congo and went to Kaziba where his grandfather lived. And so they're staying with his grandfather, not just him and his family, but also aunts and uncles and their children. They're all staying with his grandfather. So they're farming the land. His grandfather had land. They're farming the land. They're farming yucca root. And they had to till the soil, remove rocks and all that hard stuff, because they grow everything. And a year passes and the father decides, Emmanuel's father decides to go back to the Congo because he felt it was safe now. They go back to the same place they were, the house complex that they were in. It was just torn apart. Thievery, it was just corrupt. It was bad. Women were getting raped. The Congo is the rape capital of the world. So all of this happens, and one day rebels are going from house to house, knocking in doors, raping women and killing people. So as the men are like knocking on doors, they're getting closer to Emmanuel's house. They're knocking on doors, really just breaking in. That's really what they're doing. They're not like anybody home. They're breaking in. And the men get to his door. And so this family is a praying family. When I say they pray, man, like they pray. It is real for them. And so they start praying, man, and they praying hard. The women went to the back. His mother and his sisters went to the back because if the rebels see them, they're going to try to rape them. And if his father or him try to step in, they're going to kill them. So they're praying. The women hiding in the back. They're praying and they're praying and they're praying. And the knock, the kick in never comes. Emmanuel overhears that their commander called them back and they didn't want to defy the commander, so the rebels left. And that was the last straw for his father, for Emmanuel's father. That was the last straw. He was like, I don't want to see my wife killed. I don't want to see my children raped or tortured. We need to leave the Congo. So a whole year passes. Emmanuel starts selling peanuts to help make ends meet for his family. Like they're living in a 10 by 10. Matter of fact, it was smaller than that, but it was just his mom, his sisters, and remember, they have I think at this time they had 8 kids. There were times where they went without food. There were times it was bad. It was just really bad. I can't say enough. Read this book. It's really good. A year passes. The father sends a woman to bring them to Nairobi, Kenya. They end up in Nairobi, Kenya, and it's no better. It's no better because it's a whole lot of refugees there. Everyone's there. And they weren't in the good district. They were in the poor district. And that's where the 10 by 10 room was. And so the parents put up a curtain, you feel me, to split the room. One side for the kids and the other side for the parents. And so they would cook whenever they would have food. And he says that they were malnourished because they ate cornmeal and kale. That's it. That's all they could get. And every now and again they'll get some chicken And sometimes people would randomly, by the grace of God, literally by the grace of God, people will randomly say, God has put you on my heart type stuff, and he told me to bring you this chicken, you know. And so it was like that. Matter of fact, the story is the father was just sitting outside. It's like, man, he can't work, so it's like, man, what can you do? So he's sitting outside and the chicken passes, and they haven't eaten meat in like days. So he's sitting there and this chicken walks by, and he silently prays. He prays like, man, it'll be good to eat this chicken right now. It'll be good to eat some chicken. Chicken walks by, and like, he could have grabbed it, but he was a stand-up guy. He was a preacher. He was standing on his faith, and he trusted God to supply, to survive, and provide. And he trusted God in that. Later on that day, mother's cooking cornmeal and hell. This guy knocks on the door. He's like, yo, I got this chicken here. I couldn't eat it. A whole chicken. He's like, I got this chicken. I couldn't eat it. Do you want it? Just like, yeah. So they ended up eating the chicken, and dad was like, hold up. God provided us with this chicken. Because let me tell you, earlier today, I saw a chicken. And it was just a really cool, fun story to read. So they're in Nairobi, Kenya. And for 8 years, understand this, 8 years, their father was trying his best to get them visas. And every time he will go down to the office, denied. Every time, denied. He goes in, fill out the paperwork, go through the steps, denied. And they just like couldn't get a break at all, man. They could not get a break at all. Before that, crazy story, his mother almost dies after giving birth to, I think it's Esther. It's Easter. I'm probably saying it wrong. Forgive me. She gives birth to her. Like, there's no doctor on hand and whatnot. When they just went outside and she just gave birth just like that. Which, power. But she was bleeding a lot. Hailed a taxi, and like, it was slow. Like, people died in the hospital from waiting. That's how slow and how backed up the system was. His dad goes and he's back at home with his siblings just praying. Like, when I say they prayed, man, literally, if they did not pray the way that they did, as consistently as they did, as hard as they did, man, they wouldn't have made it. She ends up dying, right? His mother ends up dying in the hospital. But their faith is just so hard, yo. Father prays. He's back at home praying with his 7 brothers and sisters, and they're praying hard. They're petitioning God to do something. Boom. Mother comes back to life. Doctor comes back, talks to the dad. He was like, man, I can't explain it. She was dead, but now she's back to life. And I was like, goodness. Oh my goodness. So you see little miracles like that happen in this story. They end up going one last time, filling out the paperwork. Boom, approved for visas. Then they had to go and get a medical check, and guess what? Every time they had an up, a low immediately came. They got their visas and they were on a bus to go and get their medical examination. Guess what happened? The bus gets hijacked, so they end up having to walk to the hospital for their appointment to get their medical examination to continue on with the visa process. That goes down. That is good. Boom, they end up in the U.S. While they was there, they got connected with this church in North Carolina, and they just gave them instruments. They gave him a keyboard, gave his brother a guitar, and I forget the other stuff, but he learned to play the keyboard on YouTube. Like, and this is important because it was through forming a band, because they love to dance, and he loved to sing as a kid. And so when they hear, like, it's a musical family, mother singing, daddy preaching, they singing, they dancing, so they form a whole band, like a whole band. And it is in this band that they get discovered, and they start traveling around as a family. They start traveling around to do shows for people. I think they went as far as like Kansas City, like far out west as Kansas City, but they probably went more places than that. But I know they traveled and they did that. He ends up going to Liberty University, just as I said in the first video. He sees in convocation. He prays that, man, one day that they go to the Congo, because he knows firsthand what it's like. He prays. He didn't know that God was working on him, that they were going to end up going to the Congo. That's when the realization comes, and it's like, man, I could give shoes. So as they're traveling for entry, they started asking, yo, just donate shoes. Just donate shoes. They end up collecting 10,000 pairs of shoes. 10,000 pairs of shoes. And so now it's like, we got to take this over there. So they go to the Congo once, and they hand out a few stuff, you know, some Liberty University stuff and some shoes. But he meet the pygmy people, and they're part of the Congolese people, but they're just outcast because of how short they are. And so they're mistreated. Their land got taken over by the government. And so they're like pushed back to the brink. For them, it's like, it's a hard knock life all the way around. Chiggers eating up at their feet, which is why the shoes were so important. Because if the soil is contaminated, you end up with chiggers. They infect you. It's bad. It's bad. So he ends up meeting them, and the man that was talking to him said, a lot of people come and make promises, but they come here with their cameras and they take pictures just to fill their own agendas, and they never come back. And when I read that, I'm like, yo, that is real. That's what happens. That's what happens. People go on these mission trips. They make all these promises. They take their pictures for the clout. They take their pictures and then they go back home and they don't do anything else. That hit Emmanuel like, nah, man, you about to see. I'm coming back. Go back home. So they're still raising support. And so he's like, man, how am I going to get 10,000 pairs of shoes to the Congo? What ends up happening is it costs like, I want to say 10 or 13 grand just to ship it over there. He talked to David Nasser. One thing led to another. You got to read the book. Steph Curry is in this joint. And Seth Curry is in this joint too. Man, they pray. They end up raising the money to ship the containers over there. They end up having sponsors from Under Armour, Nike. 20,000 pairs of shoes. They doubled it. All of this happens, and guess what happens, y'all? They go through the Congo passing out shoes, man. They're doing it, and they're doing it well. That's how great it. They end up getting to the pygmy people, because remember, they were the ones that he was like, I'm coming back. Man, they get there, man. The pygmy people are so excited, and they're singing, they're dancing, and they're saying the promises of God never change. And it's like, yo, oh my, like you read it and you feel like you are there. I'm like, I'm on the bus and I see these people, these kids dancing, bare feet, dancing, excited because they see they're about to get some shoes, man. That's how serious this was. They go there, they pass out the shoes, they get an internal tour. Man, they're walking around. The guy said that not a day passes that a child doesn't die. That's how bad it was. Not a day passes that a child doesn't die. They had 3 lines. One for clothes, one for food, one for shoes. And they gave out tickets so that if you had a ticket, you would know, man, I need some food, or man, I need some clothes, man, I need some shoes. They did that, man, and it was just amazing. It was amazing. There's a lot that happens in the book. You can see the struggles, you can see the hardship, but man, Congo Sole is a read. If you want to learn what it's like to be in another country, what it's like to be an immigrant coming to America, what literally immigrants go through. If you want to learn what immigrants go through, if you want to learn what refugees go through from a war-stricken country, read Congo Sole and you will definitely be encouraged by the end of it. They have a foundation. It is their last name. I'm sorry, Emmanuel, if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Ntibonera Foundation, and it's spelled N-T-I-B-O-N-E-R-A. Ntibonera Foundation. And I will put a link to their foundation in the description below. Go there and support. They're still giving shoes away. So donate your shoes, contact your church, your nonprofit, whatever. Get shoes and donate them things, yo. Donate. So I put a link to the foundation below. They need 5 acres, so your donations will help go towards that 5 acres where they're gonna build a hospital, a library, and a school for the kids. Because understand, you have rape victims, you have child soldiers, 7 or 8, who are killing people, who are trained to kill people. They're doped up, and then they also rape women, children. So his foundation will go to help remedy that, teach people life skills, empower women, and all of that. So it's a really good book, man. I'm with the cause, man. I'm even gonna donate some shoes and financially, man, because this is really good. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of 52 Books. I know you enjoyed this reading. I really did. If you got another book you want me to read, like, subscribe, put it in the comments below. Peace.